Welcome, this is Najma Minhas with Global Village Space. I'm joined today with Mr. Nabil Hashmi, who is the chairman for Punjab Industrial Estates Development and Management Company. The company was set up in 2004 as a public and private initiative and runs various industrial estates across Punjab. Nabil Sahab, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me today.
I'd like to start off by asking you that the Prime Minister has talked a lot about industrial development for Pakistan. The Chief Minister is talking about it. Punjab Minister of Industries, Mia Aslam Iqbal, is talking about it. That we need SEZs, special economic zones, to help facilitate this. Can you actually explain what exactly is a special economic zone?
Yes, Najma, again, thank you for having me. Special economic zones are clusters within a country where facilitation to industries, to businesses is at an optimized level. With least intervention from the government, one window operations are supposed to be there. International certification and compliance issues are taken care of by the management of the special economic zone rather than leaving it to individual businesses to handle. And further supplementing emergency services, medical services, labor support services, vocational training support. A typical SEZ is that. While an industrial estate, which Pakistan has usually been promoting and having, is simply a piece of land with roads going in it, and everything is left to the businessman or the entrepreneur to set up and run his business. And technically, there is no direct support from the government. So this is the basic two differences.
So our manufacturing zone base, for example, in Pakistan is much weaker, much narrower than we find in some of our regional countries. Do you see SEZs as being the magic bullet to enable this and enable more manufacturing in Pakistan?
Well, Najma, first of all, I need you and people who would be watching this video to understand Pakistan's industrial policy as such. What was it? What is it? What it's supposed to be? For a starter, the word industry is now a word of the past.
Okay.
Now it's called business, economics. So when we talk about of an industrial policy, we generally relate or focus ourselves to the manufacturing sector.
Okay.
Right? But the world has moved on to more knowledge-based businesses and technology-based businesses.
Okay, and that's why we call it business now rather than industry.
Exactly. That is one of the reasons why we, when we converted the Quaid-e-Azam apparel to Quaid-e-Azam Business Park, we particularly named it business because we understood where the world is going. And that is where we, as the Punjab Industrial Estate Development and Management Company, consider that PIDMIC should be heading, and similarly our support to our potential investors who are going to set up businesses in our special economic zones. So a lot of restrictions, a lot of issues related to non-industrial sector are in existence in Pakistan. And we worked over the last 1 year to correct those restrictions, to remove
what kind of restrictions are you talking about?
Well, I'll give you an example of, let's say, we had a certification, which is called a completion certificate. Once an entrepreneur sets up his business, runs his business, and he's required to submit to us various documentations which are based on manufacturing. And until he doesn't prove that, we don't give him a completion certificate, and we cannot transfer the title of the land to the company. While if, let's say, an IT company comes to me, sets up shop, or a company like Daraz or Alibaba.com, they come to me, our policies were totally 180 degrees to their requirement. So that those type of policies we have modified, upgraded, and updated, so that as we go along and introduce the Quaid-e-Azam Business Park to the world, we do not do it in a way where when an issue comes, we take it up. Although there is a learning curve wherever you go, but we've tried to bring in best world practices of special economic zones to the Quaid-e-Azam Business Park. So basically, Pakistan's industrial policies itself needs a quick change to a business policy rather than an industrial policy. That's
okay.
my
We
take
should
on
be
this.
making more policies which attract businesses, which obviously you're referring to, for example, the new IT services and so on, rather than still be focusing on manufacturing.
Knowledge-based
Knowledge-based
technology.
industry. Okay. So tell me, for example, the Punjab Industrial Development Management Company has been running since 2004, and you've ran a series of very successful industrial estates in Pakistan, Sundar being one of them. Now, Sundar, for example, is now occupied about 100% as an industrial estate. What are the key factors which enable an industrial estate to be fully occupied in your experience?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was in the PITMIC's founding board, and I was there for 4 years. Then there was a gap, but cumulatively, in the life of PITMIC's 16 years, probably I've been on the board for around 12 years. So now I'm the chairman of this company. One of the reasons I accepted this portfolio was that I did have an in-depth knowledge of the company. I did have a ground situation of its rules and regulations, and I was also pretty much aware of the things that needed to be changed and upgraded. 1.5 decades ago, what was needed of businesses at that time needed to be changed now. So there's a lot of things that needed to be done, and so we did that. So PITMIC as such now, it is, I feel, pretty much ready. But a lot of things that still need to be done to make this company ensure that SEZs come up on a fast track basis. Some are internal, but a lot of things are on the external side also. And we are talking to our parent department and to our minister also, and to the chief minister also, and the respective other departments like.
What would you identify as being the key factors which, for example, are useful in making a SEZ successful? What do you need in an SEZ?
Well, I think
successful?
The independence of the board is very critical,
okay.
Because decision making is a critical factor. The projects that we are doing are right now purely commercial based projects, and the funding is also picked up from the market. Okay. And so the decision making and the time taken to make decisions and ensure that we complete the project is very critical. One of the important factors that we were able to complete Sundar as is right now in 2.5 years was that there was zero interference from the government at that time. And the board was fully empowered to make its decisions, and we were able to deliver in 2.5 years. Similarly, now also, I'm pretty much happy with the current situation also, because the board has been allowed to, make a turnaround of this Quaid-e-Azam apparel park, which was basically an abandoned project. A lot of money had gone into it, but the board committed to the government that we will not ask you for any funds, and we'll do a turnaround. And alhamdulillah, we've been able to do that in 1.5 years.
So are you saying that it's actually the company which is key factor for the critical success of running a successful SEZ, rather than any particular government policy?
Yeah, in detail, if I go, it's also the quality of the board, the team which I have. So right now, my team, which I have, are a mix of, technocrats. We've got technical people who specialize in the civil side also, in the IT side also, in the legal side also. So it's a host of private sector businessmen. Alhamdulillah, they're all independent businessmen. They have their own businesses. They are running very successfully. And it's cumulatively, I would say, about 700 years of experience, which I have at my call.
We won't start adding up who's what age then. You reveal too much there.
Probably plus 50s, everybody.
No, you won't please too many people. So tell me this, for example, you mentioned the government policy on SEZs, and you refer to the fact that instead of thinking in terms of manufacturing, we should think in terms of business. So the SEZ law, which was brought about in 2012 originally and amended in 2016, talks about various incentives on import duties and so on that are given to businesses to set up in the SEZ. But then if I think in terms of we're trying to create knowledge-based industries, what are the incentives that those industries then need for setting up in the SEZ? Because, import duties no longer matter so much for them.
It does not. And you are absolutely correct. The SEZ Act currently does not cater for businesses. It just caters for the manufacturing.
Okay.
And I have been advising the government, and we are working very strongly on this part also, that we need to update it and upgrade it and bring it to the current requirements which are needed.
So what are some of the policies that you suggest that they update it with?
Well, one of, as I said earlier, that it needs to cater for the businesses rather than the industry. So currently, SEZ Act just says that we can bring in manufacturing concerns into the special economic zones.
Mm-hmm.
And if I bring in an IT multinational, they won't be able to benefit, or even the SEZ Act would restrict me to even allot them a plot, which I think is not right. It needs to be changed and updated.
Okay. And then also I read that a lot of the policies, the incentives that the companies were being given actually ran out towards June 2020. Is that something that the government's also looking at, how to renew those incentives now?
Those were renewed, and they were taken, I think, for the next years.
Okay.
Also, so they stand renewed right now, and a clarification was issued out of them. But Najma, the important point to see is that whether the current incentives within the SEZs are enough. Okay. I think they are not enough. They need to be further enhanced, not only the tariff side or the fiscal side, but also from the management side also. Because the provinces come into play. For example, QABP is in Punjab and SEZ is a federal act.
Okay.
And so when this happens, then the local government system is in conflict with a lot of management practices which PIDMIC may want to adopt at QABP or other economic zones like Bihari or Balwal and Imya Khan.
Okay.
So these are the type of issues they are right now under study, and we are asking the government, and we are getting very positive response from the government to look into those changes, and I hope we'll be able to bring those changes.
Now, given the fact that the government thinks that SEZs is a way to help the country improve its industrial development and create jobs, I mean, are you getting special incentives in these areas, such as, cheap electricity or cheap gas or something like that? I mean, because how is the businessman being incentivized to go into these areas from the government side?
The SEZ Act does specify that 0-point electricity utilities, for example, gas and electricity, are supposed to be provided by the government.
Okay.
And as of now, there are some SEZs for which approvals have been given, and but they are still to see the light. We are waiting for that. As far as the tariff concessions are concerned regarding the rate and the cost of electricity or utilities, that is not so. But having said that, let me tell you that PIDMIC itself is going to ensure that within itself with our own efficiencies. I'll give you an idea. Sundar Industrial Estate, for example, we are LESCO's largest bulk buyer in Lahore. And we buy about 100 megawatt of electricity. Mm-hmm. And the distribution with it, Sundar, is totally managed by PIDMIC. Our internal line losses are 0.81%. And LESCO's externally line losses are around 16%. Okay. So the efficiency just kick in, when you've got the private sector handling it, okay. and the efficiencies just kick in, and we are just banking on that. The difference of this efficiency, we are planning that as soon as NEPRA allows us, the law allows us, we will be passing on that benefit to our investors within our industry.
And are you charging cost to your people inside Sundar, for example, for that electricity? Or, I mean, how are your rates being determined then?
No, our rates are same as LESCO.
Okay.
So it's the efficiency, and you can see the margin. Actually, in LESCO tariff, there are B4, B3, B2, B1 tariff. Okay. We buy at B4, and we have B3, B2, and B1 inside where we supply. So there's a very marginal difference in those tariffs. That is where we play. But you can imagine that we've got about 600 industries, and the whole 1,300 acres with a lot of underground wiring and the grid station and the staff and the maintenance staff and the replacement. And by the way, in our industrial estates, in case a transformer gets faulty, the clients are not asked to pay for it. The company changes it free of cost for them. These are type of very special policy we do, and all these costs are being managed within those efficiencies that we have achieved ourselves.
So in the Quaid-e-Azam Business Park, for example, what makes it something special? I mean, so if I, as an investor, think about investing in Pakistan and into an SEZ, why would I invest in Quaid-e-Azam Business Park rather than any other business park? I mean, what attracts the investor to a particular SEZ?
Well, for one, it's on the M2 motorway. So logistically, it's very well located. It's near to one of the largest cities in Lahore, huge consumer base in Lahore, population of around 20 million plus itself. Also connected to Sheikhupura, and on the east side, Gujranwala, just 30 kilometers away. Faisalabad is also very nearby. So it's very, very well located. So that's for one. Number two, Sundar Industrial Estate, if anybody has visited, I'm sure they would appreciate the quality of road and the network and the infrastructure that is over there. And also the board of management, which works under us, keeps it up to date on a day-to-day level. The responsiveness of the management to any problem, including safety or fire or whatever, is on a huge level. In the Quaid-e-Azam Business Park, Najma, if I rate Sundar as a 5-star industrial estate, the Quaid-e-Azam Business Park, we are ranking it as a 7-star special economic zone. Okay. And why we are also calling it a smart special economic zone, because from day one, the whole infrastructure, including the telecommunication and the traffic management and the water management, rainwater rate management, is totally going to be digitized. And we are working currently on a very advanced level of management software. And we will have a large control center which will be managing the whole Quaid-e-Azam Business Park. And not only as far as the facilities are concerned, but also from the property management, how the properties are going to manage, how the transfers are. Because if you know, in Pakistan, it's a huge issue, to get your property transferred. Mm-hmm. There's a huge cumbersome procedure and all that. But as the Prime Minister is also very much, focused into e-governance, that is the direction which PIDMIC is also following very rigorously. So a whole digitization structure is coming into line.
So you've got a variety of industries within PIDMIC. You've got auto parts, you've got pharmaceuticals, you've got textiles, and so on. I mean, what's the one key industry that you're trying to attract or have attracted, which you think will help to enable greater exports for Pakistan, or which excites you because of the future of that industry?
Well, engineering is one focus that I think we should be doing, and we should support them. One of the reasons is that globally, the engineering trade is 67%. Okay. And the textile trade is about 6%. Pakistan's trade is 70% is textile, and engineering is 5%. So we are doing absolutely the opposite to what the world is doing. So we need to work in that direction. We need to work into value-added industries. We need to work into businesses which create value. Input is low, output is high. That is where we need to head if we want to do a quantum jump in the scaling of countries globally. Otherwise,
so if there was one key government policy that you want the government to work on, what would that be? Your dream policy that would really, you think, help to accelerate the development of SEZs?
Najma, we did a study within the board, and we calculated that if we need to cater for, let's say, 2 million new job creations every year, we need at least 20,000 acres of special economic zones every alternate year.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So QABP is just 1/10 of what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That is the speed that everything needs to move ahead for Pakistan. If we really need to, cater for all the newborns coming in, every day we have 10,000 babies being born in Pakistan. We need to build 50 hospitals every day. Similarly, we need to build 25 schools every day.
But do we have the capacity for that? I mean, that's a lot of acres you're asking to be developed every alternative year.
Yes, and that acreage has to be done. See, right now, we as a country are not looking at that level. We are not thinking of that level. Mm-hmm. We are just catering for small sectors and just looking into 1,000 acres or two. Suzhou Industrial Estate, for example, is the special economic zone in China, mm-hmm. one of the world renowned. It's around 24,000 acres, and it's a huge ecosystem of the human civilization. The baby is born, the hospital where he's born, and then the kindergarten, and then the school, and then the intermediate, then the secondary, and then the vocational training, and the job, and then the kids. The whole cycle is within those special economic zones. And we are not thinking on that line. That is what I would.
Is that what's stopping us, the fact that we're not thinking about it? Or is it capacity and the lack of capacity which is stopping us?
I think the overall vision and the direction of the government was not there. Now, when we talk and sit with the Prime Minister and our CM, Chief Minister, and our Minister, they are looking into such sizes now. And but the issue remains that is Pakistan ready for that? Right. Let's say if we are talking about, let me just go on to another side. If let's say I want to enhance my exports from $24 billion, which is current, to 100 billion, do I have the road network to ensure that my goods from the north reach the ports? Do my ports have the capacity to handle such type of containers, to move out and move in? Even at current level, there is a little heat in the economy as of now, right now. Mm-hmm. By heat, I mean that the businesses are right now quite busy, and we are witnessing congestion at all our ports. So just a little tweak is grinding our system to a congestion. So we really need to do that quantum jump. It's a huge, management. My special economic zone is just one part of it, okay. Which will handle it. But the infrastructure to bring in the raw materials, to take out the finished goods, then the training and the skilled manpower, all these need to be catered for. And it's not just if I say that you correct the SEZ Act or just do some issues. A lot of the whole governance system, needs to be upgraded and systemized so that it can supplement each other. Then we can move ahead.
Okay, so I'm very intrigued. My final question to you: I'm very intrigued that the Punjab Industrial Development Company. You've been around since 2004, and as you've said, you've got a cumulative 700 years of experience.
With my directors.
Of course, of the directors. Is there any thought about maybe that you would start venturing into other provinces, or are you limited? Is there something that the government could do on this? Because it doesn't make sense that with all that experience that you're just restricted to developing SEZs and industrial estates within Punjab alone.
Well, Najma, I'm a Pakistani citizen and I'm not bound by any province and all that. So if I've been called by the Punjab government and we've responded as I should. Okay. And certainly, but we have been assisting Sindh also and Balochistan also. We are working on that on the sidelines. We are supporting them, and so no issue with us. We can share our experience if needed.
Okay, thank you, Nabil Sahab. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure, and thank you again.